labor union phrase that comes from the war. It's called the rank and file. And it comes from this. These men are arrayed in 2 ranks, and there are several files. So the labor unions used a military term to describe their membership. So what we have here are files, and our first demonstration will be firing by files from the right. Somebody, shoulder, on! What's going to happen here is that one file fires, the next, the next, the next.
This was used as a tactic to produce a machine gun-like effect. 2 balls go downrange approximately every second. Imagine a row, a regiment, 1,000 soldiers, and you know 2 balls are coming every second. In addition to that, although we don't have enough men to demonstrate it tonight, in fire by files, each file fires, and then the men who have just fired go to what we call independent fire, where they'll simply reload and start firing at will. So not only do you have 2 balls reliably coming at the enemy every second, you have everybody else behind getting reloaded and firing too.
Company, come to the ready. Firing by files from the right. Aim. Commence firing.
Bang! 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 Bang!
Bang! Cover on. Load.
Notice that when the lieutenant gives the command to load, we're not going to load 9 times. They've simply done it because they can do it in their sleep. After the musket's loaded, the soldier comes to the position of shoulder arms. Once again, remember the neutral position from which all others are taken.
The next one will be volley fire.
Volley fire, or fire by company, is the fire that I think most people will be familiar with. The entire company will fire at once. Once again, if this was an entire regiment of 10 companies, 1,000 soldiers firing at once. Imagine the shock effect if you were the enemy downrange and you saw those puffs of smoke on the horizon. You know that was a volley fire. You have about half a second until those balls arrive.
Company, come to the ready. And fire!
Bang!
Cover on. Load.
Next, we'll demonstrate firing by the left oblique. Firing by the left oblique and firing by the right oblique is simply pointing at the enemy coming from one side or the other. So why don't we have all the men just turn? Because the amount of time it takes in the field to get a line of infantry to actually make what we call a wheel, or to turn, will be far longer than to simply point their muskets at them. If an enemy's coming too far from the flank, you couldn't possibly do it. But frequently, an enemy will come into the field of view somewhere to the side, in which case we will fire from the oblique. Once again, this is volley fire.
Company, firing by the left oblique. Come to the ready. Aim. Fire.
Bang!
Cover on. Shoulder on. Unpitched. Bayonet.
Notice the rear rank men had to step to the right. One of the reasons why muskets were so long is because Napoleonic warfare was fought in 2 ranks. The rear rank had to be able to get that weapon past the head of the other man and the muzzle at a safe distance from him. In this case, they not only have to get it past the head of the man in the front rank, they have to step into the hole to the right to come around. And if it's to the left, they have to step left to come around. At this time, we have one more demonstration for you tonight, and then we'll conclude our program. We're going to do a demonstration of bayonet drill, bayonet exercise from that time. Immediately after that, I will turn the floor over to Lieutenant Leahy, who is also our commander of the SUV post, who will say a few words to us about the SUV.
Attention, company. Detail. Stand back. Coming to your post, march.
In this exercise, we're going to demonstrate to you what the drill in the exercise would have been to the average soldier using a manual of the bayonet called Kelton's manual. This was probably calisthenics as much as it was anything, because we actually drill this. We actually do this at home, believe it or not. And what we find is that you do this for 10 minutes, you are seriously worn out. Remember that all the maneuvers you see them do were repeated 10 and 20 and 50 times by the men. Once again, we talk about Napoleonic warfare. Why did they drill bayonets? Why was that so important? Why did Jackson, a brilliant military leader, think it was so important to use the bayonet? Because he closed in close on the enemy and gave the bayonet. After the war, this went away. Oh, they still drill bayonets today, and especially in the Marine Corps. It's more ceremonial than anything. This was really for attack and for defense.
Attention detail. 6, bayonets.
You'll notice that the lieutenant's about to order the men to take intervals. Now, if you're actually doing bayonet drill in the field, it's usually drilled with 5 to 10 men at a time, a corporal who actually instructed bayonet drill, and a demonstrator up front. The intervals will be 15 feet apart. Why? Because they don't know what they're doing. They're going to stab somebody. We've modified it for demonstration. Lieutenant.
Shoulder, arm. Take, interval. Guard.
This is the position of guard, and much like the position of shoulder arms in the School of the Soldier and School of the Company, this is the neutral position from which the bayonet was deployed.
To the front, facade.
These are the attacks, they're called. This is how the soldiers would advance on the enemy and how they would retreat from the enemy.
To the rear, facade.
Next, you'll see the attack maneuvers, the thrust, the lunge out, and the development. And you're going to see in progression a long reach of the bayonet and longer, out to a full length of 9 feet. The bayonet could actually be used against a saber effectively because it could reach an enemy armed with a saber at 9 feet. Then right after, you're going to see short, and this is an example of using the bayonet in close quarters. Okay?
First, guard, lunge, guard, develop, guard, on the right, jerk,
The short thrust.
guard, on the left, jerk, guard. Shoulder, arm.
Very good. Those are the attacks. This is how men would be drilled to attack using their bayonets. You can see long range, being 9 feet, and close quarters. Next, we're going to show you the parries. And at this time, I should pause and point out that bayonet exercise was very French. It was taken from the French, and the manual was actually written partially in French. You haven't heard any French words yet, but you're about to. The lieutenant will execute those for us. The men will now demonstrate what's called parries. Parry is a word that derives from the Latin parare, which means to prepare. And they'll come to a position, a posture, to defend themselves against an enemy. These are all taken from the French art of épée or sword fighting. You're familiar with the fencer and all their different positions. Well, they have 9 parries with the sword. With the bayonet, it's reduced to 5 for the sake of training and teaching. Immediately after they parry, knock another musket and bayonet out of the way, you're going to see them do what's called a riposte. Riposte, once again, is a French word, and that means to retort or to answer. So they will actually counterattack the enemy after the bayonet has been parried. Oh, in Freeman, and Sukan, Jersey, and Portland. Yep, these are defensive preparers. The attack, yeah, the attack, yep.
Guard.
Once again, the position, guard the neutral position.
E3. Riposte. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Perfect. We're still learning. But don't worry, when we get this down, Tawanda will be safe. If they come with bayonets, they have it.
We will begin again. E3. Parry.
Notice the position. The buttstock is up over their head, the bayonet pointed down. You watch as they go, the positions come down lower. These are the parries.
Riposte.
Defensive and the thrust against the enemy.
Guard. El segundo. Parry.
This is the second position of the parries. The musket comes down lower.
Riposte.
Defense and thrust.
Guard. E-tire. Parry.
Notice in this, the bayonet point is up.
Riposte. Guard. Escotar. Parry.
And now the lowest of the positions, an enemy coming in low. El corte, or the fourth parry.
Riposte.